Color grading can really make or break a video. I've seen videos with beautiful footage and really great edits kind of fall flat because the color sort of didn't support the emotion that was being conveyed through those things. And there's tons of videos online of LUTs and all these different tools that you can kind of learn and dive into. But I focus so much on color in pre-production and production that by the time we get to, this final leg of the whole process in post-production, I'm really just helping accentuate and push things to the final sort of place that they can be. So, you'll see in this breakdown that, I made choices as I was shooting this video to have pops of red and these bright primary colors. And so now it's my role to really just push those across the finish line and make sure they don't sort of fall flat in sort of a log gray, sort of feeling. So we're gonna be jumping into this music video that I shot, and I'm gonna show you how I take things across the finish line. It's way more simple than you would think, but I just wanted to throw out that piece of advice for anyone who does have control over the production phase is color in production and then accentuate in post. So that's that, and let's go ahead and dive in. The way we're actually going to start is by taking an adjustment layer. We're going to take this adjustment layer, we're going to drag it where it's on top of the entire project. The way that I like to work is to be able to sort of start with the end sort of look in mind, sort of find a couple hero shots and make sure that my overall adjustment is applying well to the entire edit, and then go into each individual shot and sort of dial in any levels once I've adjusted the sort of the big picture look for the project. Let's go ahead and we're going to add Lumetri to this. We're going to go to Effects, type in Lumetri, grab this and toss it on there. And really all I'm going to do is I'm just going to play with exposure. So something a little bit more sort of poppy. I'm going to dial in the contrast a little bit more. I really want those colors to pop. And, I want to make sure that we're not, like already that's a huge difference, just really making it feel a lot more like a pop video. And then going to go down to saturation and even boost that a little bit more. Okay, so that's feeling good. I think that then I want to go down to creative and add a sort of a general LUT to the whole project. And one of my favorite LUTs that I love to sort of use comes standard with Premiere. It's called Kodak 2383 here. Kind of creates a bit more of like a crunchy warm blacks, crunchy warm highs. The whole thing feels like almost like a very subtle version of like a bleach bypass. It adds some warmth to skin tone. It kind of crunches them up. A little bit of that sort of like green mid-tone, just very, very subtle. Of course, this is way too intense. It looks colored, like this looks graded, which is something that I want to avoid. So I'm going to take this down and just dial us into like 40%. You can see if we were at 0, sliding it up, we could even probably go to 50 and be totally great. But this is feeling like a great start. I mean, just toggling this on and off, we can see going throughout the video that we're off to a much better start just in terms of bringing attention and bringing focus to the things that we, the decisions that we made on set are now just going to be sort of like boosted, and we're going to have more attention brought to them by just boosting contrast and brightness. Let's go ahead. We're going to switch to our color view, which is up here. To get there, if you don't have this little panel here, you just go to Window, Workspaces, Color. This is kind of the standard view. So what this does, obviously, as you see, is it opens up Lumetri over on the right. And now anything that I click, it's going to automatically apply Lumetri to that, and it just lets me dial things in really quick. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this to around 7. Might have a couple little spots on her eyes where I want to make sure that those little highlights under her eyes don't get too blown out, because that'll look kind of greasy. But I can definitely push this. And again, the difference between this looks fine, that looks great. And I'm basically just going to go throughout the entire project and kind of just make those changes as I see them. We're going to keep that filmy kind of look on this, and then maybe we go a little bit punchier and, kind of dial the contrast in a little bit more. We're going to add a very, very subtle vignette. For this stuff, I like to maybe go -1, maybe -2, but usually around like 0 to -1. Increase the roundness, increase the feather. you know, and just that little, the tiniest touch just takes it, you know, and just kind of pulls your eye to the center instead of just feeling like the brightest stuff is out here. So that's kind of the purpose of vignettes. Now this, we'll just kind of keep going. A little bit more vignettes. Here's a great example of a shot that could use some work. So we're going to take this pretty high here. Now, here's a really interesting moment in the edit where most of the time I'm like boosting exposure. In this case, I actually want to sort of pull back, and it's a very subtle difference, but I want Daniela to always kind of remain like the visual hero. So, you know, for moments like this, maybe being a little bit more intense with the vignette, maybe not that much, boosting the roundness. That really helps, you know, sell sort of like a focus on the mannequin there. All right, I'm not going to bore you with, you know, going through every single shot, but there are a couple shots that, you know are kind of like not problem shots, but shots that might need a little bit of a different treatment just based on the lighting. And one of those is the scene over here. You can tell that this one's a little bit more sort of washed out and flat. And we have this like big light that's creating this like strong flare, you know, right in the lens. And so this is one that I'm going to need to add even more contrast to, taking it up to like 100, just to get it feeling more like the rest of the project. I'm also noticing that as I'm doing that, you can see that things are kind of turning almost more like magenta or pink. And a simple way to approach that is literally just going over your tint and pulling that down. I mean, again, we're doing things in the smallest increments that we possibly can here. So, you know, that's before and after, and just kind of getting it where it feels a little bit more natural like the rest of the project. All right, so there it is. If you have any questions at all, please be sure to reach out. And until the next one, happy editing.